Do you want to be a pro author making 6 or 7 plus figures a year? Well, if so, I have the $1,000,000 question for you that's going to give you clarity on how to get there. And if you've ever been overwhelmed with ideas and wondering, what's the path? What's my game plan? I hear so many different ideas. These questions that I'm about to give you, which is all based on the $1,000,000 question, is going to give you that direction and that game plan. So here we go. Here's the $1,000,000 question that we start with. What would a pro millionaire author do? In other words, what would a pro do? What would a millionaire author do? This question will start to give you insights because you already have an idea of what someone who's highly successful would do if you've ever studied successful authors. So for instance, if I ask myself that question, I ask it of a coaching client today, one of the things that comes up is, well, they would probably outsource some of the marketing. They would have a team of people to do some of these tasks. They would probably hire the best cover designers in the world to do their book covers. So you already have an idea of what a pro would do. Now, the flip side of that is you might also ask yourself, here's the second question, what would a pro not do that I'm doing? And this is even more powerful and insightful because you can almost always come up with an answer for this. So for instance, if an author is hiring a cover designer, or let's say they're designing their own book cover, and you go, wait, would a pro do this? Probably not, unless they're a graphic designer. Would a pro be going on Fiverr for a cover designer? Probably not. So what would a pro not do that I'm doing? Or what am I doing that a pro wouldn't do? Right? That's your second question. Now you might be going, okay, Derek, but I'm not a pro. I don't have, I'm not making 6 figures a year, 7 figures a year. I don't have all this money and all these resources to hire a team. Like, wouldn't that be nice? Like, it's a nice idea, but dude, come on, that's unrealistic because I don't have the same capacity. And that's true. If you're wondering that, you're right to wonder that because there is a limitation to this question. So I'll give you an example and I'll give you the solution to it. I worked out with an Olympic sprinter. If I were to try to do what an Olympic sprinter does, not only would it pretty much kill me, but I literally don't have the capacity to do what he does. So if an author is starting out and they have a few hundred people on their email list compared to a pro who has 50,000 people on their email list, there's certain things a pro could do or avoid doing that just the aspiring beginner author does not have the capacity for. That doesn't mean you can't learn from the pro. Just like I could still learn from the Olympic sprinter who trained me, who trained aspiring Olympians, who trained, everyday people who weren't, athletes, because what he did is he took us through a process that applied to everyone. And that meant starting with a warm-up. Doesn't matter whether you're an Olympic athlete or an everyday person, you still start with a warm-up. And then you go into activating the right muscles. And then you go into working on correcting imbalances in the body. And then you go and we run laps and it might be 70% effort, then 80% effort, then 90% effort. Now, my 90% effort might have been his 30% effort running around a track. But the idea is we're still following a similar process. So the third magic question is, how would a pro approach this? If you have a challenge or something going on in your business, you might go, how would a pro approach this? Well, they might ask for help. They might get coaching. They might start to outsource something. And even though you might not be able to outsource 100%, you might at least get an idea that that's a direction to go in. Okay, which leads me to the next question. What gets you one step closer to being a pro? What's one step closer? So if I go, okay, if someone is shooting videos and they're a pro and they're like a millionaire, multimillionaire entrepreneur, what would they do? Well, I think they'd probably have like a home studio and they'd have multiple HD cameras set up and they'd have a nice backdrop and they might be sitting on a couch and all these different things. And I go, but I'm not there yet. I don't have a $1 million home studio. But what's one step closer to that? So in this case, you're literally seeing like a backdrop on Amazon, the setup with the camera and everything. And it's not maybe the millionaire level home studio, but it's that one step closer and it's that constant step closer. So you might not be able to outsource everything in your business, But is there one thing you can outsource? Could you outsource some keyword research? Could you outsource some of the market research that you're doing? Could you outsource a little bit of the marketing and promotion? Is there something that you can do that gives you one more step towards that direction of what a pro would do? And then here's the final consideration. If you have a hard time coming up with answers to any of these questions, then that's a sign that you haven't studied enough pros. You haven't immersed yourself and been around enough people who are at the level that you aspire to be at, and also good role models who may have started where you're at, right? See, going back to that question of how would a pro approach this, the pros who have the 50,000 people on their email list, they probably started with 0 people on their email list, just like you. So if you read their stories and if you immerse yourself into their mindset and their journey, you start to find people who are similar to you or started similar to you and then got to a level that you want to be at. So the final question is, who are more pros that I can study from? These could be also people, great business leaders and biographies of successful people and people who've achieved great things in their life. As you start to absorb their stories and their journey, you start to be able to adopt their mindset and go, what would they do? What would so-and-so do? Or what would a pro do in this situation? Or what would they not do? And that's going to inspire you, give you more clarity and direction. Recap. What would a pro do? What would a pro not do that I am doing? And how would a pro approach this? What would their mindset be? And what's going to get me one step closer to being a pro? Final bonus question, who are more pros that I can learn from and adopt their mindset? This is Derek Depker of ebookbestsellersecrets.com calling you to now go pro. Take care.